Hi, my name is Harold Rainwater, and I'm just remembering today teachers that have influenced my life. I grew up in Wilmore and attended Wilmore School and Jessamine County High School and Asbury University and Eastern Kentucky University. In the 8th grade, I had Miss June Lowry, and I was a little mischievous by then, maybe more than I should have been. And I just remember she always encouraged me, you can do better than that. And that always encouraged me later in life, that she didn't come down hard on me, at how disappointed she was in me. It was just simply, you can do better than that. Another teacher that had influence with me was Bill Maxwell. Bill Maxwell was the coach. He had been coach at Wilmore High School, and when the schools consolidated, he became a coach and a driving teacher and the athletic director and a lot of things. But he's also the police judge in Wilmore. And I just remember that was my first glimpse at public service, was the judge was the coach. And so my dad was a policeman in Wilmore, so I got to hear the stories of Bill Maxwell. And he was a fair man, and he was a good man, and so he had a great influence.
I remember Mr. Floyd Hall, the principal at Nicholasville Elementary School. He would actually come into the classrooms, and we were always so glad because we knew the lesson plan was over. But Mr. Hall would tell us stories with a moral behind them, such as the person who looked in their mirrors and their mirrors would enlarge and they lost the view of the outside world. And they started looking in the sliver of window that was left to the outside world, and the windows would grow. And that was just a lesson that other people are important, to focus on the world around you more than yourself. And those little stories planted the seeds of morality that made us into the people that we were today, that we are today.
A teacher that influenced me would be Mr. Speers, my chemistry teacher. The year prior to having him, I'd actually failed chemistry, and I had him the following year, and he made chemistry fun. So I ended up passing the class with a high grade, somewhere around 98%. But he really showed me that something that I failed at before could be fun and entertaining, and it's how I applied myself to the study that allowed me to overcome the past failure. So I'd say that he probably had one of the greater influences as to why I am where I am today, because it's not so much the category you're given, it's how you apply yourself to the category and how you'll succeed. So I appreciate him greatly for that.
When I look back and try to pinpoint one teacher that has impacted me far greater than the others, it was really hard. Yet one stood out. Now picture a 6'5", 350-pound, salt and pepper older man standing in the doorway, towering over, looking down on us middle school students. Now for those of you who know me, I am not intimidated easily, nor was I as a child. But on that day, I was scared. So as I walked into class, I scurried to my desk. I pulled out my notebook and my pen and my calculator, and I was ready to go. He slammed the door and started spewing off all these expectations. I was freaked out. Now, as the year progressed, this taskmaster, this dictator type attitude quickly vanished. But what I learned that day was that he wanted to start with really high expectations. And he wanted to set the ground and set the foundation for what he expected us to grow and learn and morph into by the end of the year. And it was his goal and his job, his purpose, his passion to make sure that happened. Now looking back, I don't think at the time I realized that. And it quickly became a joke in my family how intimidated I was by Mr. Hiegel. But as middle school went on, high school went on, and even into college, he became a close mentor to me. Going into a life in nonprofit work, going into a life of ministry, I realized that I have to have high expectations of myself, because I'm not only working for me, to support my family, for my community, but I'm also working for Christ. And this was really established in that moment, and I am forever grateful for Mr. Hiegel And I'm thankful for how he laid the law at the beginning, but also was able to step back and really come alongside us as students, cultivating a friendship and driving a passion in us for success.
A teacher who influenced me was Mrs. Scott. She was my 5th grade teacher. I had her the last year before she retired. And all through school, I struggled with math. I hated math. I couldn't figure it out. And I don't know what it was about Mrs. Scott, but for those of us who had trouble with math, she would always encourage us to go up to her chalkboard. She called her chalkboard the magic board, and she said anybody who did math problems on the magic board could get the math problems right. And I don't know, somehow miraculously it always worked. It really wasn't a miracle, and it wasn't math. It was that when we went to the board, she came and stood alongside of us and helped us see it all and fit it all and piece it all together. And I've never forgotten her for that. And the little bit of math that I can do is probably due in large part to Mrs. Scott.
So when I was asked to identify one of the more influential teachers that had impacted my life, it really was a struggle because there were so many. And it really does cause you to reflect back on your elementary experiences all the way through college for me. But having to pick one, I've come up with the name. That was Mr. Batson, who was a high school teacher. And interestingly enough, I found out about 5 years ago that he was also one of my nephew's favorite teachers. And that was 20 years apart, so he was impacting students for well over 20 years. But I'd say the thing that was probably the most impactful experience with him was how much he could draw you into the content and just make you want to be a better person. He was one of those teachers where at the end of class, after the bell rang, students were still in their seats and wanting to hear more and learn more about what was going on and what he had to say. When you spoke to him, you could tell that he was totally engaged in what you had to say and just wanted to get more from you. And I think that while I look at him as impactful in that particular class, I do think that overall he's just made me want to get more involved in education, more involved in the community, and just he helped me appreciate the love for learning.
So when I think of a teacher who influenced me, I think of my 2nd grade teacher. Her name was Sister Ann Michelle, and what I remember about her was that she was kind. I was shy and I was unsure of myself, and she treated me kindly and gave me opportunities to show what strengths I had, and she was always respectful of me. So what I remember was how important that relationship was, and that has shaped me throughout my school career, because I continue to value the relationship between teacher and student and feel like that's what makes the biggest difference in terms of students achieving their full potential and feeling safe and feeling loved at school.
So a teacher who helped me get to where I am today, you know, I have a lot of good teachers, but I think about my 9th and 10th grade physics and math teacher. She was just awesome. Like, she was the smartest person that any of us knew, and she was funny and she was cool and she wouldn't put up with any of our crap, you know, and I was not good at physics. But she was such a good teacher that I thought I was good at physics. You know, like, all of us thought we understood until we took her tests and they were hard. But she just liked me, and she saw something in me back then that I didn't see in myself. And, you know, being in high school and just wanting to be cool and wanting to fit in, and she would always, she'd talk to me like I mattered, and she had this look when I would do something that was stupid. She had this look like, you're better than that. Or when I was trying to, like, be disruptive just to be cool, she had this look like, you're better than that. And I just never did it around her, and I don't know, she saw something in me that made me feel like I could be something special, and she would just encourage me. And even all these years later, I think back to her and think, wow, like, I believed in me a little bit because she believed in me, and it's definitely helped me get to where I am. So shout out to you. Thanks.